It's the Full Force News Burst, proudly brought to you by Battle Action Force, the Treasury editions. I am your host, Christopher McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80. Now let's get into the news.
Full Force!
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Full Force News Burst live with me, Christopher McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80. Done all that. I've already done it. I don't have to do it again, do I? You know who it is. You know what's going on. You know what time it is. It's randomly 6:18 or 19. Yeah, and as always, I'm going on at random times all the time. That's how it goes. 60% of the time, I'm right. All the time. That doesn't make any sense. Hope everyone is having a great Thursday. Hope everyone's having a good week so far. And yeah, we've got obviously a little bit of news to talk about today, but then this is just lined up very perfectly, to be fair. The fact they just dropped announced the date for when the HasLab reveal is going to be happening, which is Monday, which we'll get into in a sec. I wanted to do a sort of Snowcat related tiers sort of discussion because I think we can all agree it's probably going to be the Snowcat based on all of the very poorly hidden messages everywhere. But yeah, so I thought, let's talk about tiers. Let's talk about what figures like are available to us, but then also like what would make sense, what would be good kind of to have in those positions. Now, there's going to be stuff that we don't cover. It's not an exhaustive list of characters and what have you, but I've got a good amount of winter based figures that we've had in the past, and basically like ideas that I think will probably cover everything. But then also there's going to be a few that I've thrown in there that we're probably not going to get, but I just wanted almost to put them in these are main characters that we're probably not going to get in the tiers, but it's a conversation to have, isn't it? Okay, so we'll talk about all of that stuff right this second. I know I'm like, why am I stalling? Let's just do it. I don't want to be here all night. You don't want to be here all night. Okay, explosion. I know, maybe you do want to be here all night. I don't know. How is everyone doing in the chat? Lots of you in there. Hope everyone's doing well. So, HasLab tiers. We'll get into that shortly. But first, obviously, the news broke moments ago, probably about half an hour ago, that the Hasbro Pulse fan stream, which will finish Yojo June, will happen on June the 30th, the final day on Monday of the month, 11 a.m. Eastern, and it will be the full HasLab reveal. So you can expect the actual HasLab to go up at 11 or maybe just beforehand. Remember last year? I think no, it was the His Tank, wasn't it? It went up like 5 minutes beforehand on Pulse, and then the video dropped out like 5 minutes later. Do you guys remember that? I'm pretty sure it probably happened with the Dragonfly as well, didn't it? I feel like that's happened a few times. Was it the Vamp unboxing that was posted earlier than like it went up and like a few people managed to catch it and watch it, but then they had to pull it down again because it was obviously too early. In any case, let's hope for a little bit of advanced action this Monday as well. And yeah, it's very, very likely, based on all of the hints and the clues and what they're saying, that it's going to be a Snowcat. Now, obviously, this is the one of the main kind of clues is a visual one, where we have this sort of blue landscape with the snow falling down on the JoJo Classified series plus HasLab logos. So that was one thing that kind of gives you an idea that to expect some sort of Arctic mission based scenario. And then the others are all vocal, and they've been said by the team. Multiple members now, both Emily and Lenny, have said things like cool and frosty and cold and all that kind of stuff. They've even used a kind of little ice emoji and a cat emoji in the official on the official reveal page on the Facebook page, which I find quite hilarious. So yes. Am I sure they aren't stars, Chris? I'm pretty sure they're not stars. But that would be great, wouldn't it? If they just pulled out a Defiant. Are we going to do a Defiant instead? Yeah, so that it is cold in space. You're right, Chris. It could just be space debris. No, so that's basically what we're dealing with at the moment. So based on that information and all of the leaks, I'm not confirming anything, yay or nay, but it's pretty obvious it's a snowcat, isn't it? Let's face it. And I think a few people have sent me the fake JCon 7 images that were going around. They're not real, guys. Those snow cat images. That was yeah, something that kind of I think was done as a ingest, basically. So yes, that we haven't had any leaks yet, technically, of this snow cat. But what I wanted to talk about tonight was yeah, faux cat images, brilliant Blitz, was the possible options we have for tiers. Now I've got a few. Well, let's go through. I've broken it down into different sections, right? So the first section, I've kind of broken down the main characters that are winter operations, but these are ones that I'm not expecting, honestly. I'm not expecting any of these because of the fact that we are dealing with, like I just said, sort of main characters that could probably hold their own in a retail or exclusive situation. So, I'm thinking Iceberg. Iceberg would be a perfect character to come with the polar battle bear, in my opinion. I think this isn't all of them, by the way. We've got a lot to get through. Trust me. Annie knows. Annie's telling me. Iceberg, Twiceberg. Now I've said that. Thriceberg, even. So Iceberg, I think he would be a perfect contender for not for the HasLab, but for a polar battle bear. That's what I think would be a great place to have our Iceberg, because I do feel like I don't think he was done dirty because he's a great figure in the original line. But in terms of accessories, he only gets the machine gun, and it's a pretty cool accessory. It's a very cool. I'm using those terms, aren't I? Like it's a pretty cool accessory, but it's not like he could have come with a bunch more stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? Like he could have come with a bunch more stuff. So yeah, Scott's like, Annie, get on with it. I know that's what she's yelling. So Iceberg, I don't expect to be in this lineup. I genuinely don't expect him to be in this lineup for the tiers. Same for Blizzard. Standard Blizzard anyway. We'll talk more about Blizzard later. For those who know, you've already mentioned it in the comments, Brian. But yeah, I will be talking about Blizzard in another capacity later on, and then probably at the end I'll kind of give you what I think are the most likely candidates for me personally. And that doesn't mean anything. It's just, but this is why you tune in, isn't it, to talk about this stuff, to chat in the comments and to listen to what crap comes out of my mouth. So yeah, so Blizzard, don't think we're going to see him in this particular situation, but he's an Arctic figure and a main character, and I wanted to include him, and the reasons why I don't think we'll probably see him in the actual tier list. If they did, I think that would boil some urine, basically. I think piss would be boiled in that scenario. I think lots of people would be angry because you're kind of I think Blizzard is a main character that could easily be done as a deluxe or retail. I think you could just make him the accessory heavy figure in that retail wave of 4, if you know what I'm saying. So yeah, I don't think we'll see standard Iceberg or standard Blizzard at all. Nor do I expect to see version 2 Stalker, although many people have expressed a real want and need for this figure when talking about the Cat Haslab, which confuses me a bit because I think this particular Stalker I would want with the kayak. So I would want a figure vehicle set effectively here. So I would want Stalker at that sort of like higher price point with the kayak, with a ton of accessories, which they would go to town on. All the machine guns that mount on the boat, on the kayak, or whatever you want to call it, the kind of little separate section, the arm that connects to it that has the little stabilizer or whatever that is, like another little, I don't know what that is, on the side of the kayak. Does anyone else know what that is? I think we've had this conversation before and someone did actually say, and I've forgotten again, but effectively that little stabilizer that he has would be really cool too. Maybe it's just carrying more gear, but I don't know. So I'm saying, I want to be clear on this. I'm saying I'm not expecting, nor do I want Iceberg Blizzard or version 2 Stalker. When we get to Avalanche, right? I'm looking at Avalanche and I'm going, if you were to put Avalanche in a HasLab and in the tiers, you would effectively be setting a precedent, wouldn't you, for how we get the rest of Battle Force 2000. And I kind of feel like if they did like a Joe tank, like a Mauler or something, which I was expecting a Mauler this year, genuinely was expecting a Mauler this year. I think you could have put Dodger in there, but Dodger you could easily have done as like a, let's say Sonic Fighters Dodger. So you don't necessarily have to hide the main figure in that kind of HasLab tier system. And the same thing really with Avalanche. I wouldn't want him to sort of be locked in there to make collecting any sort of Battle Force 2000 sub team almost like really difficult. And again, I would be jumping on this in a heartbeat. So it's different technically, but there are going to be people that don't want that. And I think you can't. It's not about like, you know, it's not a pandering thing here, but I definitely think they should 100% try and do the right thing when it comes to the tiers, and they're sort of getting there. I think. I'll also add, I fully expect the tier list to be 3 figures again, to back to 3 figures. So obviously you've got the base figure in Frostbite, which I fully expect to be the base figure for the Snowcat, and then the tiers, 3 more figures is what I expect. So 4 in total, but 3 extra tiers, which obviously we didn't get with the Rattler. We got some patches, but we didn't get the extra figure. So, which again, after seeing the box and the vehicle, I'm not surprised because that thing is freaking ridiculous. I genuinely don't know where that's going. It's going to have to hang from the ceiling somewhere, I think. But that said, yeah, I think we'll be going back to like a 4-figure complement, should we say? A base figure and 3 tier figures is what I would fully expect, because based on the response to the Rattler setup, the kind of Rattler structure, I would think they're fully aware of that, honestly. So moving on from Avalanche, and like I said, probably not wanting to include Avalanche, but I think I would say Avalanche might be on the fence or on the bridge of possibly being in the tiers and also not being in the tiers for the reasons I've mentioned. I do think we could probably see him in there because they might think, people don't really care too much, but I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? I mean, there's a lot of people that just don't give a crap, and then there's some people that are like avid fans of that particular subgroup and everything. I personally have a strong nostalgic connection to Battle Force 2000 because they were like right in that sweet spot for me as a kid collecting this stuff. Anyway, so those aside, if you're just joining, I'm talking about figures I don't expect to be tier listed figures in a Snowcat thing. So just in case you're getting in here and going, well, that's not going to be on there, like, trust me, I agree with you. I don't think any of these will be. Now, as we move through Sub-Zero is another kind of what I feel like main Arctic character, sort of at the same sort of level as Blizzard and Iceberg. I feel like Stalk is a little bit higher elevated than those guys because of the precedent of the character before. Like the fact he's a version 2, the fact he's a very popular character, he's very high up in the hierarchy, he's very popular. We've got Stalkers already in the Classified series, so it's like, he's a good character to do. So for me, I feel like Stalker's kind of like way beyond this, and then I think like Iceberg, Blizzard, and say Sub-Zero are kind of very much on the same level as your classic Arctic Joes. And Sub-Zero is another good one that I think would be perfect for retail, or I say retail, you know what I mean, standard release, or some sort, not even necessarily exclusive, but just like a retail wave of 4 figure, basically. What else? Yes. Okay. So moving through that, we get to Snowstorm, who is definitely one of the lesser, I would say, loved characters in this kind of grouping that we're looking at the moment, mainly because he kind of came out right at the back end of the vintage line, Kitty said. 2 versions of as well, orange and blue, sort of redeco kind of versions almost straight away. So I'm kind of looking at Snowstorm and sort of thinking similar vibes to Avalanche here, although Snowstorm isn't really connected necessarily to a sub team as such. So it's kind of like I feel like Snowstorm is the least protected here. I feel like Snowstorm could show up in a HasLab because there are two decos of him as well. Well, there's actually more than that, but you know what I mean, like two original decos of him. So I feel like you could get away with doing one in a HasLab tier and then doing one later on in a retail wave of 4 repaint. So that's what I'm kind of thinking. Like Snowstorm has got the least protection in this group of main characters, you know, named main characters, basically. Oh, that sucks. Ryan from the Marvel Legends team was laid off from Hasbro. Do you know what? I had no idea. That's awful. As far as I'm aware, the Joe team weren't affected. No, not the Joe fate, the kind of customer facing, as it were, Joe team weren't affected. But oh, that sucks. That really sucks. I love Ryan. I thought it was great. Oh man, that's really kicked me in the nuts. That has. Coming back to that's difficult to do when you. Okay, we'll come back to this. Tony Tran says, "How about create a new Arctic character? That would be really frigging cool, Tony. Actually." One Pouch Man says, "For the 5 people that like Battle Force 2000, you'll get Avalanche with the Snowcat." Lol. Indeed, indeed. Whiteout. We'll be talking about Whiteout shortly. Rachel. Even I'm pretty sure it's not Rachel, but Rachel. Any chance? Well, we'll get to international as well, DJ5 Ash, because I've got thoughts about that as well. Right then. So finally, in this group of main characters, we have Bushido, because he is like an Arctic. He's a snow ninja. So you know, I think the fact that they're doing Ninja Force at the moment, you know, it wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility that he's snuck in there. But I also think he's too much of a main character to really be in the tier levels, you know. So I'm not expecting any of these main characters. We're looking at the screen. I'm not necessarily aiming for any of these for the tier list, right? With the exception maybe of Snowstorm and possibly Avalanche. But I think these are my least likelies, is what I'm getting at there with main characters. Now, we shall move on to other versions. Now, this is where this is where I kind of feel like we could see definitely at least one possibly popping into the tiers, one of the 3 tiers. I'm expecting 3 tiers, by the way. So I'm going to assume it's Frostbite driving the bloody vehicle. They tried it the other way, but it didn't work. That's a terrible pun. And then the 3 figures that go in the tiers is what I'm fully expecting. Okay. I could be setting myself up for a fall, but that's what I'm expecting. That's what I'm kind of considering with all these things here. Now, are we likely to get Frostbite version, whatever, the next version of Frostbite? Probably not, because it's Frostbite. Frostbite version 2 is Tiger Force, and then I think this is Frostbite version 3 on the left-hand side here, in that sort of Battle Core card back. Now, I don't expect that, but it's another version of Frostbite, so I just thought I would throw it in here, because he's sort of like a main character, but it's also another version, and I'm also expecting Frostbite standard, so he's sort of like an I would say an extreme wild card, honestly. Then we have version 2 Iceberg, which you could argue might be a cooler version to release at retail. But I would also probably say people, I don't know, it might be one of those things where people want regular Iceberg in the regular line, but you get away with doing a sort of version 2 Iceberg with the HasLab. I don't know how people feel about that, actually, because the more I think about it now, the more I would like that Iceberg to be, you know, available to everybody. A cooler version, I know. I'm not doing it on purpose, unfortunately. So yeah, I wanted to kind of put that in there, even though that is like a completely different figure at the end of the day. Same with that Frostbite as well. Where we get into kind of more, I would say, and also you've got the surfboard, you've got the snowboard as well with that iceberg, which is very cool. Now, where you get into real possibilities, I think, are where you get into sort of repaint territory, where we have Sub-Zero in that kind of mail away Arctic Commandos kind of deco, kind of dark blue and the white with the green kind of little beanie underneath. Um, I'm not sure how. I mean, it would be a pre-paint, of course, and everyone would be like, "Oh yeah, cool." Ed I don't think Snowstorm was an eco warrior though, was he? Like he wasn't officially an eco warrior. He was originally designed to be one, or originally concepted to be one, but I don't think he was an eco warrior though, was he? And he had lots of decos. That's what I said at the beginning. I said the just the two original like vintage ones is what I was getting at. But in any case, yeah, and in that same set, DJ, because Stalker's in that set, but it would be a repaint of the version 2 Stalker, which again, like that could be a possibility. That could be a possibility for sure. But I love the thought of having DJ in the line before we have mainframe, airtight. Name them. There's lots of them, but like it would be so funny. But again, I wanted to throw that one in there as a consideration. And then of course you have, which again that would be a pre-paint as opposed to a repaint because we haven't had DJ yet. And again, another shout out to Battle Force 2000 who just want to show up now. It's cold. Now it's cold. You want to turn up. Big Ben. Now this is one that I think is a real possibility. It is not too late in the it's not too far removed from where we are right now. I mean, it's years old, but still. Big Ben, Arctic Deco, repaint of Big Ben, kind of, I'd be down for that. I could kind of see it, honestly. So yeah, I'm thinking in this particular sense, Big Ben is probably the first one that really jumps out to me out of all of these to be in a tier list because it's a repaint. It'd be an easy one, but it'd also be kind of a cool one. I don't mean that. I just can't think of any other better words. It'd be rad. Be a rad one to do. But we'll see. We'll see how that pans out. The next one is the one that I want more than anything. Actually, the next two are ones that I want more than anything, and are kind of they're not against the Arctic theme. They just want to be more prominent within it. They don't want to be camouflage. They want it. Well, especially Doc, who's rescue. He's doing that. That's on purpose. But with Blizzard, yeah, those classic jungle snow for the Tiger Force Blizzard figure. Anyway, so yeah, Tiger Force Blizzard, it would be an international homage, which I think people would be very excited about. It would be a pre-paint to a standard Blizzard, which I think we could expect following the actual one. If we don't get Tiger Force Blizzard, I'm going to be absolutely gutted. But I also understand why we wouldn't. It's like I don't know. I want it. Does everyone else want it? I don't know. Genuinely don't know if everyone else wants a Tiger Force Blizzard. I personally would be all about a Tiger Force Blizzard within this tier list. Now, Big Ben and Blizzard stand out to me as possible tier candidates for sure at this point. Doc is another one. So this kind of not redeco, like kind of effectively an Arctic Doc, a different build, obviously utilizing parts in the line at the time, to do a very colorful, very awesome Arctic Doc, Rise of Cobra era sort of figure. And I think that would be great. You've got the Doc head sculpt. It doesn't have to be a different head sculpt. You've got the helmet. You just repaint that. You've got the shades. Check. The rest of it is just the jacket, probably like a neck piece to make that jacket really tall. And then just the snow gear, basically. And I think you could do a really awesome rescue Doc in that case. And again, like pack him out with some really cool accessories, and you've got a really awesome option there for the tier levels. And I don't think people would be too upset if Doc as an Arctic Doc would be behind that HasLab situation. Doc is available in the standard version in the line, so it's not like you're denying people Doc. But you never know, if the figure is rad enough, people, and which it will be, if it's a Doc and it's Arctic and it's that color, it'll be amazing. But if it does actually happen, it'll be interesting to see what people's responses are to that, especially the ones that are not going in for the actual HasLab itself. Anyway, that is that next section of other versions. Now we move into movie and comic options. Now, this isn't exhaustive. I just didn't want to change the amount of windows I'd made on Photoshop to then put the images behind. I was being lazy, but also you get the idea with the cartoon aspect, the movie, right? Winter jackets, basically, for your classic characters. So Scarlet, Duke, Roadblock, and Jay, they were just the best screenshots I could get whilst watching that part of the movie. Would I take a winter coat Flint? 100%. Would I take any of those? One of the best ones out of the movie, one of the best ones, and like, trust me on this, go and find the scene just at the end where they flip Serpentor over, or Duke kicks Serpentor over after he's just been electrocuted. Then the shot is like Duke, Scarlet, and I think Dial Tone or someone else, maybe Cross Country, in that shot. And then the next shot after that, you see, like, I think it's Jay. It's the shot there with Jay and Roadblock are from. Same screenshot. Next to Lady J. Oh, actually, I'll show you exactly, because it's on the main image, is Dusty. And Dusty's getup looks amazing. And it's effectively similar to everyone else's, but he's got like a little like neckerchief thing going on as well. But he's got this, like, you got the semi-long coat, and he just looks amazing. It's a really good anyway, that I just wanted to kind of make that very clear, because I was really vibing on that one. So yeah, there's a lot of really good options for your kind of like, let's repurpose a character and stick a winter coat on it, basically. And I think in this particular scenario, I think with the lack of female figures in the tiers, I think a Jay or a Scarlet would be awesome there, because obviously, we've had the Baroness in the Rattler. We've had Glenda, obviously, in the Dragonfly. I definitely think there should be a space there for a female character as well. And I would love to see either Jay or Scarlet done in that kind of style. There was a design ages ago that popped up, concept art from a female artist, and I forgive me for forgetting the name. We posted it as well, but it was Scarlet with like a kind of saber-toothed tiger, and it was Scarlet in like a winter getup, sort of like Operation Blackout style. A little bit kind of different, but she had posted that as that's some concept work she'd done, I think, for Hasbro, for that particular for Classified, that never actually made it or never went anywhere. So something like a Scarlet in winter clothing would be great. And of course we had Jay as well in winter gear in Operation Blackout 2. Not Operation Blackout 2 as in Operation Blackout as well, I should have said. But yeah, I think Blitz, yeah, Scarlet's hair would pop against the white deco for sure, absolutely. Sean says, personally, I'd like new figures mostly versus the third or fourth version of a character. Right, yeah, but it gets difficult with Joe. You kind of have to have other versions of kind of other characters. But I get what you mean. Like, so where you had Glenda, for example, where we had Ripcord and Crazy Legs before we had those figures standard deco, I totally get what you're saying, Sean. So yeah, sort of like the pre-paint sort of angle. So maybe having a Blizzard in there, for example, a Tiger Force one, that is. Action J says, Chris, what do you think the chances are that Target or Walmart pick up the Arctic theme since the Snowcat is coming? Maybe. I think, I don't know. Actually, there's a possibility that, I mean, we don't know. We do know there's more what they called Walmart exclusives, and then Night Force related. So, but that doesn't mean that after that last Night Force one, for example, it doesn't change theme. Target seem to have kind of, I mean, the fact that they've got they had the mass device last, the Target Breaker and the divers. I would probably expect them. Target would be the most likely, I think, to take up some sort of winter theme, if that was the case. We did get Resolute Scarlet, yes, and we did get Resolute Duke for winter kind of gear. And guess what? I didn't forget them. I just sort of like I didn't include them, and I don't know why. I don't really know why. In my head, it felt right at the time not to include the Resolute Duke and Scarlet, who do that kind of winter insertion, Kitty said, at that harp facility in Resolute. But anyway, that is the movie. And yeah, let's throw in animated. Let's throw in Resolute Duke and Resolute Scarlet as options as well, because that would be kind of more interesting too. So yeah, I feel you guys on that one. Ed says, we love you, Chris, but no one's going to be upset if Arctic Doc is behind the HasLab paywall. Thank you, Ed. I just needed that. I just needed that justification. And also, very nice of you to say that you love me. Rachel says, out of all the HasLab figures released so far, I think Cobra Commander is the only character that had a pre-existing figure before their HasLab. You might be onto something there. His tank. So it was the gunner, the driver, and the retro Cobra Commander and the tactician. So yeah, there was nothing pre-existing at that point, technically. Dragonfly, no, they were all new. They were pre-paints, the tiers, weren't they? Wild Bill was brand new, obviously, but then Ripcord, Crazy Legs, and Glenda, all different versions. Ripcord we've had, Crazy Legs we can expect, I should imagine, and Glenda became. She wasn't a pre-paint necessarily, but there was a lot of parts sharing with Retro Scarlet. So yeah, exactly. I get what you're saying on that one totally. And obviously, and the Rattler was Baroness, Wild Weasel, and the Gunner. So they've all been brand new to this point. That's for sure. But it wasn't. The Baroness was a brand new figure, is what I think they were getting at. Oh, okay, that's true. Sorry, yeah, that's technically not true then, Rachel, because of the Baroness. Because yeah, Baroness had a pre-existing figure, but in terms of a brand new figure, Baroness was, but yeah, a bit of grey area there. We'll say. Then okay, so as well as movie and animated, and just based on the fact that I only had 3 that I really wanted personally to see in any sort of tier list or any sort of way, were Arctic Quinn, starting with Arctic Quinn, because there are 2 versions effectively of Quinn. There's Arctic Quinn, and then there's Crocodile Hunter Quinn as well. Shout out to Steve Irwin. So yeah, basically I would say you could definitely do an Arctic Quinn as a tier, and I don't think people would be too fussed, because you'd more than likely be getting a not standard, but like a non-Arctic Quinn, a cargo shorts, a smart casual cargo shorts vibe Quinn in like the main line. That's what I would expect. The other thing I would like to add as well on the winter jackets. Yeah, I didn't mention this before, but Quick Kick looks really dope in a winter jacket. So does Alpine and Bazooka from Pyramid of Darkness, and all of those are options. I just was trying to wean it down a little bit on the old images heavy scenario, but there are loads of great options animated for winter jacket Joes. And yeah, in terms of the comic side of things, I think a winter Quinn would be so cool. And then you could have 2 Weasel Skull necklaces, or he could share it with Snake Eyes, because I would love to see, or I kind of expect it a little bit to see Snake Eyes. Now, would he be sort of like the one that people might get a little bit upset about being in a tier list, even though it's not his normal kind of version? I don't know. That's a question that I just don't know the answer to. because you don't know what everyone's thinking, or even though it feels like it sometimes. I don't know exactly what everyone's thinking regarding that. I feel like if you did a Snake Eyes, like a Arctic Gear Snake Eyes, it'd be really cool. But that could probably exist in the main line. Do you know what I mean? I feel like you could definitely do a figure like an Arctic Snake Eyes in the main line, and it would be, you know, money. So it's one of those things that I think, do you hide it behind this? Maybe it's a big carrot, Kitty said. I don't know. Maybe they'd be looking at it like that. I don't know. Who knows? Not me. Um, Arctic Grunt because nobody has mentioned him yet. Lol. Good shout, Blitz. I like that. Just as long as we don't get patches again. I hope we get patches, John, just not at the expense of another figure. Rise of Cobra Arctic Shipwreck. I like the sound of that, Marcus. That's really cool. Please no Snake Eyes, he needs a rest, says Blitz. How about a removable winter jacket that you can put on to any other figure, says Luke. That would be interesting. I don't know how they would really go about that, other than a soft goods jacket, maybe. But or maybe just yeah, because you'd need the arms. So I don't know, maybe like a set of different winter jackets that you could equip your Joes in, possibly. That would be kind of fun, wouldn't it? Maybe that'd be a nice just side hustle, not side hustle, a side thing that wasn't really affecting everything else that we're enjoying at the moment. I think they would release Winter Snake Eyes on his own as a supplement, says Lawrence. Yeah, like a sort of a HasLab adjacent. Yeah. Sean says Snake Eyes needs to stay mainline. I mean, who knows what they're again, this is one of those things where you might think you might think like this is how it should be, but at the end of the day, it's kind of what they end up doing. And I'm trying to look at it from what maybe they would think about, how they would think about it. It's hard though, because I don't know if they're looking at like maybe putting a Snake Eyes in there as like I said, like a carrot, dangling a carrot in front of people to jump on the HasLab. Um, um, what about the Temple Guardian version of Snake Eyes from Pursuit of Cobra? It would definitely be a wild pick, but maybe it's too rad to put behind the yes Wreck Ship. That's a really cool figure, actually, and yeah, I don't think it doesn't really fit with what the Snowcat is, to be fair. But I do like the sound of that. It's a very cool figure, just to be done anyway in general. Obviously, there's the other thing here, which I'm not really adding into this conversation necessarily. But they have done things in the past where Cobra Takeover, look at the Sky Striker, that had, you know, a whole Cobra set of figures. Probably not going to happen with this HasLab. They're probably not going to do a Cobra figure with a Joe vehicle and vice versa. But you never know. They could drop a, you know, a version 2 Snow Serpent or something crazy like that just to really annoy everybody. Winter Steel Core is a good shout, and that's something I'll talk about in a second, definitely. And then we also have finally in the comics and special missions, Hit and Run shows up rocking white and blue with the kind of like beigey tan, greeny beigey tan helmet. I think it's just the comic that I scanned it from. But yeah, it with the helmet and the gloves and everything. But this is one of those things that I've always wanted to see GI Joe do as a figure. I've wanted them to do this kind of like winter operations hit and run for as long as I can remember. Probably from the first moment of reading that special missions issue. The fact that we got you know, like a Night Force one eventually after the unreleased sort of tank driver kind of input got out there from back in the day, and we got that hit and run in the black and the green, which was really dope. Obviously, we've had hit and run standard multiple times. We've had a Wolf Squad hit and run. We've had Tiger Force hit and run. How could I forget Tiger Force hit and run? One of my favorite figures of all time. I cosplayed as Tiger Force hit and run. The images are on the internet. You can find them. And yeah, so I think this one would be a really cool one to do as like a hit and run's obviously coming in the future, but like a pre-paint job. In any case, I think there are lots of options that I would be really stoked for with these. Then we get into, I say, so that's like the movie, the animated, the comic kind of aspect, right? Then I wanted to get into this conversation. Now, these are obviously three very major vehicle drivers. We have wind chill on the left. We have the Arctic blast driver. We have the avalanche driver, cold front in the middle. And we have the Wolfhound, which is effectively another name for the snowcat, piloted by Whiteout. Now, this is the kind of like modern version of Whiteout, where they kind of took a lot more liberties than the original one, which was in a 2-pack with that Big Ben figure we talked about before, back in the late 90s. And that one was effectively just a repainted snow job, which wasn't like the most like, oh, amazing. It was effectively snow job, but not as interesting. So I like the fact that they went and did a little bit more with this particular character at this period of time. So I'm thinking, in terms of like the fact we're probably not going to see these vehicle drivers, maybe, yeah, is that harsh to say? Do you guys expect to see Arctic Blast, Avalanche, or another snowcat called the Wolfhound? Almost certainly not another snowcat called the Wolfhound, but I'm not 100% sure we're going to see the Arctic Blast or the Avalanche. That said, we could see the drivers utilized, or one of these utilized, in this particular situation in the tiers. But does that cause any issues? Does that kind of like, I mean, does anyone want, I mean, I personally think these figures are actually quite cool. Pun, why do I keep saying cool? These figures are quite rad. I'll just say rad because I say rad a lot as well. I think Windchill is a really interesting figure. He's actually got that kind of like leatherneck face going on a little bit, but with different color hair and tash. And then, like design wise, I think there's a lot of cool things in there. Like that jacket's really nice, and the camo on it's really cool as well. And like, he's a little bit boring when he gets to the legs, but honestly, I think is a very cool, satisfying driver kind of figure for me. Cold Front, I think, is amazing. Very Snowstorm vibes. And again, like a bit futuristic, a little bit kind of, he could, if you had a Battle Force 2000 winter team, he'd fit right in there. And then Whiteout is just a little bit more sort of chill, relaxed. Obviously, took a lot of, cues from Wind Chill in the deco on the jacket, the gloves, the kind of deco in general. And they kind of changed up the head a little bit, and headgear, so it wasn't like just effectively Wind Chill, but later. But either way, I'm kind of like, I don't know, I'm semi-interested in seeing any of these three kind of pop up there. But I don't think they're going to make my final three. And my final three I will talk about at the end. I haven't done a graphic for it. I'll just have to tell you. Then, of course, we enter this realm. What do you think? Do you think now is the time to maybe do an October Guard figure? Do you think now is the time to maybe sneak in like Dana, or, I don't know, anyone really? Horror Show would be a freaking amazing one. Although the problem again here that you're dealing with is you're hiding them behind a HasLab. So I just put this up here because I thought October Guard, cold conditions, certainly kind of decked out for the kind of Arctic if they need to be. And I think you've got some good options here, and obviously not pictured Dragonsky, Red Star, Big Bear, Volga. There's loads actually to the October Guard crew, and again, some more of the supporting October Guard is probably more likely in that sense. In my opinion, Max Power CG, I think October Guard is possible, but I think it's possible based on the odd figure here or there, and maybe not with an October Guard logo on it. That's probably what I'd expect. I think Dana could be a really good one to do, but again, I think people might be a little bit upset that she was behind a HasLab situation rather than available. Anyway, I just wanted to throw it out there as a possibility. I personally don't think we'll see one in a tier list, but I don't know. I think it's about time we had the October Guards conversation again. I think, at least in terms of like individual releases throughout the line at some point in the future. A subscription figure winter specialist, Big Boast 360. The only one I can think of was the Night Creeper, the winter Night Creeper. But are you talking about a Joe character or a Cobra one? By the way, that winter Night Creeper I want so bad in Classified. I want all of the different options of repaints for Night Creepers, please, and thank you very much. Yeah. So anyway, that's the October Guard. I think there's not really much else to go into there. I've kind of said what I wanted to say on that one. Next, my international wild card. So in terms of the Winter Trooper, why not do a huge and obvious homage to the Palatoy Action Force Arctic Assault from 1982 as a tier? Give him a steel core helmet option as well, and just give him this kind of, maybe like a little homage to the grey, blue, and white deco. Doesn't have to be like, maybe a head that kind of like mimics this one with the kind of like the helmet with the headset with the mic and everything. I don't know. I just kind of thought it'd be kind of fun to do to throw this in here as like the international one. So you know how like a lot of people were talking about, your Glenda's this and your Glenda's that. I thought it'd be a great opportunity to do another UK homage, obviously, and do something like this. I think this would be kind of fun because again, you could do it as an homage. It doesn't have to be like completely the same figure necessarily, but you could again utilize the deco. You could sort of work out the gear, the backpack, and the helmet, and all that stuff to sort of get there a little bit. But then you could also make it like a steel core helmet. You could maybe change some elements of it so it's a little bit more kind of a little bit more kind of classified, updated, and stuff. But yeah, there you go. Shelf Present says, "Wow, that looks like a dollar store, Joe." Lol. Well, technically, that's kind of what it was back in the day. White and powder blue camo is always a win, says S. Myers. I think so. Anyway, Joe that says the Action Force Arctic Article Assault Trooper would be awesome. Sean says, I'm not against it. I'm up for surprises. Chester Deadly says, my prediction, Sub-Zero in international colors could be lumped into Night Force. Do you know what? I didn't think of that before when I was talking about that one, Chester, but that's a really friggin' good idea. Ice Storm version 2, Arctic Medic. I like that. And either Scarlet or Lady J in Arctic gear. I think that's some. I like that. I genuinely love what you're cooking there. That's very cool. I wouldn't be upset with any of those. Genuinely, I like the sound of Ice Storm, the version 2 Arctic Medic. The Arctic Assault looks a lot like Battle Force 2000 Avalanche. Kind of does a little bit, Rachel. Just a different deco and 5 points of articulation. Scott says maybe make him a unique character like Wolf Spider. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. I'm just thinking in the almost inevitable troop builder aspect they they like to throw in there, but we don't think we really had that with Joe, have we? I think the hint was there that we were going to get Steel Core at one point, but it never happened, and we ended up getting the Steel Core Commander in a 2-pack with the Twilight Guard, which was actually a nice outcome at the end of the day. Do you know that's still a really cool 2-pack that I think has gone under the radar a little bit. People like it and talk about it. Talked about it at the time, but I feel like it's definitely one of those. It's a really cool 2-pack, and I really find myself kind of going over to that Twilight Guard a lot and checking it out. And again, the Steel Core Commander, I'm down for any Steel Core, man, all day long. Anyway, that was my international wild card. I don't think I have any more. The only other thing I wanted to say, just one more time for the people in the back, is Tiger Cat in the future, please and thank you. Just throwing it out there with Tiger Force Frostbite. Thank you very much. Okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to throw it back to this image right here, just as like a sort of place where we can kind of talk about the other things, like where I kind of where I kind of want what I want personally, and then also hear what you guys want for your 3 figures. Now, personally for me, I think I kind of want to do it kind of like fairly as well, like lay it out fairly. I think Lady J, definitely. I think Lady J in a winter jacket would be a really cool option to have in there personally. And also one I could definitely see them doing. I could definitely see Lady J in a winter jacket kind of being done. Um, I also want to throw in Tiger Force Blizzard because I think it would be amazing. I think it would be absolutely amazing. And if it was Tiger Force Blizzard, then we'd all be really excited for inevitable regular Blizzard. So jobs are jobbing on that one. And then I think I'm going to throw in my little wild card of the Arctic Assault Trooper, but heavily, heavily modified, an homage, let's say, to that particular character. And we end up with a sort of like special core, sort of winter specialist. But I could be way off base on that one. There are so many I would have in here. Like Quinn would be amazing. I'd take that Sub-Zero that was mentioned before as well. The Sub-Zero in the dark blue, 100% down for that as a Night Force Sub-Zero. There's so many different ones, but for me personally, I just like the thought of having like a nice spread of figures like that. And again, like a Lady Jane winter jacket would be really cool, and I think like especially Tiger Force Blizzard would just absolutely blow my socks off. So yeah, what do you guys want? Let me know in the comments and we'll talk about it. Arctic Outback, just because, says Blitz. Genius. October Guard Volga would be a very nice ad, in my opinion, says Eben. Yes, actually, she would be really cool. Winter Gear Bombshell Bomb Strike, says Steps Toys. Yes, Winter Gear Bomb Strike for sure. Chris says, I love the HasLab where they were so blown away by the sales, they scrambled to figure out tiers. Yeah, for sure. Including the scratch drawing of Cobra Commander as a tier. That was quite funny as well. That was a really nice drawing. Don't get me wrong. It's beautifully done. But yeah, they were certainly like, oh, well, looks like we're doing a retro Cobra Commander then. What else are we saying? Battle damaged Arctic Bat, since you can't get the original one, says John. Yeah, I'm not sure about the Cobra troops in a Joe Haslab, but yeah, I'm sure there's a bit of tongue in cheek there as well. Oh, that's another good point as well. Yes, Shelf Present says, I'm hoping that Snowcat will have troop carrier capabilities. Preggers Kitty. Indeed. I think that's something, we've talked about previously on like the last episode I think we did, like the last news burst this early this week, where I talked about it's pretty much a Snowcat now, isn't it? But yeah, in terms of like the size, I think they could definitely do some sort of kind of like, they could embiggen it, Simpsons reference, and definitely make it like a troop carrier internally. I think would be really, really awesome. Shelf Presence wants horror show for sure. Rachel says new female character codenamed Snow Bunny, and it's a dude. See now why they don't make those into O-ring figures, the Action Force Palatoy figures. That's like printing gold. I would be great if they did. I'd be up for it. Yes, please, on the Tiger Cat, says Chester. It's actually a fake out, and the HasLab is the Tiger Cat. That would be, I think people would probably just, it would be bad. I think I'd love that. I'd be all over it, but I know there'd be a lot of explosions. Scott said that. Antonio says, hello, Chris chat. I'm running late. What did I miss? Not much. I haven't really said much. I'm hoping for Roadblock to go with I Was Once a Man Cobra Commander, says Russell Hammond. Yes. So if you did a Roadblock, it wouldn't be necessarily be Winter Jacket in that sense. But yeah, you could definitely, it would be like a more vintage version 2 Roadblock, more so than the classified first version. Joe says, I'm calling it Arctic Hiss next year. That would be amazing. Tim's 3, 97 Iceberg. Nice. Didn't mention that one, did I, before? Arctic Lady J and Quinn. Nice. I like them. I'm not crazy about troop builders and HasLabs. Not many are, Rachel, honestly. It's just I think it's just me wanting to get Palatoy Action Force as an international character in there, if you know what I mean. They could make it a character like they did Wolf Spider, like that was mentioned earlier in the comments. So there's a possibility you could do it, and then you just have a steel core helmet with it. Lawrence says, I think all characters should come with steel core helmets. Yeah, that would be expensive, but let's do it. Quinn, says Jedi Ben. Yep, I'm down for Quinn, genuinely. Version 2 Iceberg, says Joe. Yes, I had version 2 Iceberg in the sort of other versions that I still necessarily aren't expecting to see. But yeah, Russell wants Stalker with the kayak, but surely you want that not in a HasLab, right? Ice Cream Soldier is a really good shout, Raging's Herbert, and we did talk about this as well because we felt on the last episode, because we kind of feel like if ever there was a time to do an Ice Cream Soldier, it would be now. So yes, I'm down for that. Sleeveless Snow Job, Jeremy says, genius. Stepstoy says, are we sure it's classified? Could it be Transformers Armada crossover Snowcat? Could you imagine? I have both of those, by the way, Stepstoys. I have and it's not like a big flex or anything, but I just, because it's in, like, you clearly know who Snowcat is in the Transformers as well. But yeah, I've got those versions both carded and boxed, as it were. I would expect J over Scarlet just because it's been so long, says White. Yep. Rachel says, I want Arctic Divers so each character can get their own Snowcat. Wow. Arctic Drivers. Sorry, I thought it said Arctic Divers, which is actually really cool. Troop Builder in white, green shirt redeco, says Snowwolf. That's a good shout. David says, I believe we are getting Frostbite, then a repaint of him, then Winter Jacket Scarlet with Lady J head. Oh, okay. So like a Winter Jacket female body with Scarlet and Lady J heads. Interesting. That would be really rough, though, having to buy two of those just to cover just to cover both of those particular characters. Frostbite will come with a steel core with a white deco. That'd be kind of fun, says Vuxnut. We haven't had Ripcord yet, says No Closure. Have we not had Ripcord yet? Yeah, we have. We have had Ripcord, haven't we? I'm pretty sure we've had Ripcord. Or have I gone mad? Have I gone mad? They did figure pegs on the Ore Striker so they can have some on Snowcat. Yeah, definitely. Need a Snowcat crew just like the 788 Fire Team. Yes, big time. Joe says, how much do you think it will cost? That's a good question. I think probably less than the Rattler, more than the Hiss Tank, or maybe around about the same as the Hiss Tank. I don't know. What was that? About $299? I can't remember. But I don't know. Maybe in between those two, possibly. It depends what it looks like, size wise, features wise, figures wise. Really depends. Arctic Hiss with Rip It, says Antonio. That'd be cool. But the Arctic Hiss driver is phenomenal, so I would prefer an Arctic Hiss driver. Save Rip It for like some other repaint of it. Orca Iceberg, says Paul. Genius. I'd rather get a Tiger Cat myself, says Eben as well. Also, Snow Jinx for female figures, says Detective Dirty. Do you know what? Jinx in like a white with like some sort of camo on it would be so dope. So utterly dope. I'd love that. Cheers. What am I drinking tonight? Decaf, black tea, vanilla something. It's vanilla. It's lovely and fancy. I like the whiteout idea, Chris, seeing as how it's another Snowcat pilot. Yeah, basically Blitz, yeah. Bias says, don't think we get any kind of Iceberg with the HasLab since he'll probably be a version 1 original deco release now in 26. Yeah, I could see that. Jim, the J Khan images are not real. They were joke. It was a joke. They were fake. Motorized wiper blade, says Luke. Motorized wiper blade. Definitely a moving one, but motorized is a really interesting and also very complex thing to do when you think about how that wiper blade is positioned on the cockpit. It's literally on the glass, isn't it? Like you lift the thing up. It's not like Like, that would be I think that would be so hard to do. That would be so hard to do. It'd be cool, but I don't know how they would do it. Like, it would take most of the budget to work that out, I think. Um, Another possibility for a trooper would be a repainted 60th female sniper in Arctic colours with a white ghillie suit. Chester, you're pulling out some bangers today, mate. Could they do a female in winter coat with both Scarlet and Lady J heads? That was mentioned earlier, actually. Yes, possibly. I want him as a deluxe because the poor guy had the worst accessory compliment ever, says Steps Toys. Iceberg, yeah, definitely. Night Force Ripcord, not real one. Thank you, Steps Toys. Yeah, so we haven't had Ripcord yet. Thank you for that. Yeah, I meant regular Ripcord. Sorry, guys, I wasn't very clear on that one. I thought we'd had regular Ripcord already, but we have not. Just the Night Force one, yeah. We don't have Hit and Run yet. No, we don't. Absolutely don't. I have the receipts, and Chris has been provided them. J-Khan didn't leak Snowcat images. Oh, okay. Thank you, Jeremy. Yep, true. We had a 60th anniversary pilot. Yes, we did. Snowcat could hold 10 figures. Could be more if they have troop built, like carrying capabilities inside. Because again, that would make sense for like a vehicle like this. You wouldn't want people hanging outside on the exterior unless you're in like a battle and they're about to just jump off, sort of thing. I'm just going to keep saying Tiger Force Blizzard and will it to happen, says Eben. I'm kind of doing that now, actually. King Ape thinks it's going to be about 300. I think that's probably that would yeah. Today we learned that Chris did what a lot of us did and sold Night Force Ripcord, hence not being able to find him. No, I didn't. He's right here. He says, and he's not right. Where did I put Night Force Ripcord? Is he in the Night Force crew? He might be with the he's with the Night Force team. I put Night Force Ripcord and Crazy Legs with the Night Force team, obviously. He's in the back corner. That's why I can't bloody see him. I've literally hidden him right round the back. $299.99 people are saying. 300 to 350 says King Ape. I hope it has lights and the treads work, says Russell. Well, lights for sure. Like almost certainly it's going to have lights. I'm very excited to see what they do with the lights inside that cockpit, because that's going to look gorgeous if they do it. In kind of like a blue cockpit sort of thing would be really cool. We need early bird backing figure. Do you remember that? Yeah, Antonio. Yeah, the tactician was that, wasn't it? Anyway. Ice Cream Soldier, yeah, Michael, we talked about that one as well. That's a good shout. Yeah, definitely a good one. Even though it's kind of like here's a flamethrower trooper, it's a really fun one to add in a winter sort of thing as well. Definitely. Yeah, I think it's gonna be 4 figures, Antonio. I don't think they're gonna. I think they 100% are gonna do like a driver and then 3 tier figures. Jinx in yellow, Scott. Yeah, that would be interesting. And then she'd be yellow Snow Jinx, wouldn't she? Like yellow Snow Blizzard. Frostbite has to come with a coffee cup. Well, they've got one in the line now. They've got 2 in the line, I think. Arctic Dog Walker Jinx. Brilliant. Cross Country and Winter Jacket, indeed, Medic. I kind of talked about him earlier with the animated, like any of those Joes in winter jackets are kind of really cool. A snow animal, oh, that's a good shout. That would be kind of fun, like a penguin or we've got a polar bear already, just not necessarily in this line. Okay, lots of comments. Sorry guys, I'm not gonna be able to get to all of them, but there you go. That is my I suppose conversation with you guys on what we could possibly see for tiers on and I mean as in TIERS, not TEARS. I'm sure there'll be lots of tiers as well, or there always are. But yeah, that's kind of like my thoughts really, just lumped onto screen, forcing you guys to do all the hard work. So yeah, I'm excited. Monday is going to be the HasLab reveal. 11 a.m. EST, unless it's cancelled at the last minute. But hopefully that will it's like a semi-Emily. I sort of combine them together. Hopefully that will somewhat alleviate the pain that some of you guys have had over the last month of Yojo June. It's been an interesting one, I'll put it that way. But yeah, I think, with this HasLab, I'm really excited to see what's going to happen with it. I'm sure we'll probably see all the figures up front, because they seem to stop doing the kind of reveals after a certain period of time now. But we'll see how it goes. And yeah, who knows if any of those show up at all, if they do something completely different and they've got like just 3 Arctic bats in various stages of deterioration, just to get that. And that's where all the Arctic bats went. That's what we find out. And they'll do a bunch of... Dial Tone will be in there with his winter jacket, because it's the only way we can get Dial Tone now. Anyway, that's me. I will be back, of course, for the weekly on Saturday. And of course, if any other big news pops up tomorrow, then, you might get a news burst as well. But for the most part, you're just going to have to wait till Saturday. I also have lots of cool stuff around the corner. I have an interview with Word Burglar coming up soon about his upcoming Kickstarter. That will be dropping when the Kickstarter goes up, which I can't tell you. I think it's going to be next week at some point, but I can't tell you the date because I don't know. I'm having to work it out on the fly along with words on that one. But when that gets dropped, that interview will go up as well, sort of like a HasLab adjacent character would during a HasLab. Although that's not true, because a HasLab adjacent character usually comes out like months later, doesn't it? Anyway, I'll stop with the terrible kind of metaphors or whatever, and I will just say it's a really cool interview. It's all ready to go, and what his project is amazing, and I think you'll really like it. So, I mean, he's already revealed most of it. It's the Rhymes with Comics, so you can actually check out the landing page for that right this second. BBTS has Dial Tone on pre-order. What? Rushes to see that it sells out immediately. I honestly, Dial Tone has been the bane of my life. So that would be crazy. That would be crazy. Are you just doing this to make me sweat in front of everybody? I'm going to call it a night and try and jump on that now. No. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining me. Like I said, I'll be back for the weekly. No, sold out. Damn it. I looked and it says this on BBTS. So, bummer. Right. I suppose I'll keep looking, right? Anyway, I'll see you guys on the next one, whatever that may be. See you on Monday as well, because I'll be definitely doing a live on Monday night for surezies. Stay fresh cheese bags, and as always, after 3, I think you know what to do. Oh, and actually, before that, damn, nearly forgot. I'm going to play a word from our sponsor, and then I'm going to call it a day. So we'll do all of this in one go. 1, 2, 3. Full force. See you later after a word from our sponsor. That's it for this instalment of the Full Force News Burst. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe. See you next time, and as always, Full Force. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on all of our social platforms, links in the description, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on any of those platforms with feedback or questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/The Full Force Podcast, or click the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.